This video is made for educational purposes, and any explicit themes or words are either quotes, events, or accounts included for the sake of historical accuracy. Take from this what you can, and most of all, enjoy the experience. Thank you.
Initiating information transfer. Processing facts and data. Data successfully converted. You are now plugged into coal-iron wire. Welcome.
When you think of supervillains, you likely think of Venom, the Joker, Doc Ock, or Danny DeVito. But me? I think of someone much more real, the villain to multiple success stories. Sugar Bear, better known as Suge Knight, the real-life rap game supervillain. Known enemy to Dr. Dre, Eazy-E, Snoop Dogg, P. Diddy, and even Kanye West. This is the history of Suge Knight, rap game supervillain. Suge Knight is a well-known character in the rap universe, notorious for being a violent, threatening force to be reckoned with, identifying with the Blood Gang and arguably being responsible for the success of many rappers such as Tupac, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Corrupt, Daz Dillinger, and even Bow Wow. He's thought of as someone possibly involved in the deaths of Eazy-E and Tupac. In the way that NWA could be coined as the world's introduction to street rap, Suge Knight's Death Row label could be seen as his introduction to gangster rap, being some of the first music to glamorize and idolize the lifestyle of gang members. So where did he come from?
Part 1. The Birth of Marion Hugh Knight, 1965.
On April 19th in Compton, California, Suge Knight is born to Maxine and Marion Knight Sr. In his early childhood, he picks up the nickname Sugar Bear. In his teen years, Compton was tied to a strong gang culture as a result of segregation and discrimination against people of color. This leads to him becoming a member of the Mob Piru Street Gang, a well-known subset of Bloods, and likely the founding subset. In high school, he becomes a football and track star at Linwood High.
1983.
Suge graduates and plays football at El Camino College until
1985,
when he transfers to University of Nevada, playing for 2 more years there.
1987.
Knight is invited to the Los Angeles Rams training camp, where he becomes a replacement during the NFL players' strike that was taking place at the time. He plays as a defensive lineman, and during this time only actually ends up playing in 2 games throughout his career with the Rams. While football doesn't go away, he does become friends with the rapper MC Hammer during his time there.
Part 2. The Descent of Sugar Bear, The Rise of Suge Knight.
It's 1987 still when Suge is arrested and charged with domestic violence against his ex-girlfriend for forcibly sawing off her ponytail, and is later arrested again, beginning a snowball into the Suge we know today. For the second arrest, he is charged with stealing a vehicle while carrying a concealed weapon, as well as attempted murder for firing 3 shots at the driver during the theft. After obviously leaving the NFL, Knight finds work as a concert promoter and a bodyguard for celebrities, one being Bobby Brown.
1989.
Knight creates his own music publishing company under the name Future Shock. Using management connections through his artist Mario Johnson, Suge claims that Ice Ice Baby, the hit song by Robert Van Winkle, aka Vanilla Ice, had used materials written by Mario. He then confronts Ice several times over the matter, leading to one night where he goes into the room Ice is staying at the Bellage Hotel in Los Angeles. Accompanied by a member of the Los Angeles Raiders, Knight then takes Ice to the balcony of his 15th floor suite, where he threatened to throw him off if he doesn't sign over his rights to the song, even going as far as allegedly dangling Ice off the balcony by his feet. Ice ends up agreeing to the deal, but later denies the whole event taking place. Suge uses this money to found his own record label.
Part 3. Death Row Records.
Initially, after gaining rights to Ice Ice Baby, Knight forms a new management company looking at the name Death Row, an odd choice of alliteration considering the purpose of the group is auditory patterns, aka music. Starting off, he signs DJ Quick and the DOC, through whom he meets the rap group NWA. Hearing that NWA members Dr. Dre and the DOC wanted to leave the group and its label Ruthless Records, Knight and some of his henchmen threatened Ruthless's manager Jerry Heller and the founder Eazy-E with lead pipes and baseball bats. This in turn gets Dr. Dre and the DOC released from their contracts.
1991.
Suge Knight, the DOC, and Dre officially found and established Death Row Records together through Interscope. Knight also procures the help of a business manager fresh out of prison for drug and attempted murder charges who goes by the name Michael O'Harry Harris. He sets up a partner company at Death Row titled The Godfather.
1992.
Death Row releases Dr. Dre's debut, The Chronic, going 3 times platinum, and while on parole, Suge Knight is charged with 2 counts of assault with a deadly weapon. He allegedly ordered 2 aspiring rappers to their knees in his studio, firing a shot near them and pistol whipping one.
1993.
Crip rapper Snoop Dogg debuts his album Doggy Style, going 4 times platinum. During the production of this album, Snoop is arrested for suspicion of murder, in which he is later convicted and charged for killing a rival gang member. Even later than this, he is eventually acquitted.
1994.
Knight opens a Las Vegas nightclub under the name Club 662. On a phone, 662 translates to MOB, standing for Member of Bloods.
1995.
Snoop, along with Corrupt and Daz Dillinger, then set off the East Coast-West Coast war, with Death Row representing the West and Bad Boy Records, including rappers such as P. Diddy, the Notorious B.I.G., and Mace, representing the East. It is reported that at some point, Suge and Pac led a meeting in which artist Sam Snead was brutally beaten, the reason being that he was too close with some East Coast rappers. Death Row Records begins to fill with Suge's friends and fellow gang members fresh off sentences, as well as LAPD officers as security, who are later realized to be part of the Rampart scandal.
Nope.
The Rampart scandal is one of the most widespread cases of police corruption to ever occur in U.S. history, in which over 70 officers were implicated in varying counts of unprovoked shootings and beatings, planting of false evidence, stealing and dealing narcotics, bank robbery, perjury, and covering up evidence. 106 convictions were overturned in light of this, and several robbery, homicide, and rape investigations tied to aforementioned officers remain unsolved.
Continuing.
Also in 95, Suge's enemy and Dre's former partner Eazy-E dies from AIDS, and later in 2003, Suge airs his own theory/possible confession of how he thinks Eazy got AIDS in the first place. Suge is also convicted of assaulting 2 rappers at a recording studio again, and is sentenced to 5 years probation. He also begins his beef with well-known rapper and entrepreneur P. Diddy, calling him out live at the Source Awards.
Any artists out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, and don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the videos, all on the record, dancing. Come to Death Row.
The East Coast ain't got no love for Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and Death Row. Y'all don't love us. Y'all don't love us. Well, let it be known then.
That same year, he signs MC Hammer and Tupac Shakur under the agreement that he would join the label if Knight pays his $1.4 million bail for charges of sexual abuse. Suge then becomes barely reachable by his staff as employees start to be assaulted as punishment for not following orders.
Part 4. Suge and Pac.
1996 comes around and Death Row drops Tupac's double album All Eyes on Me and Don Killuminati The 7-Day Theory. At this point, Dre leaves the label over concerns that Suge is corrupt, starting his own label under the name Aftermath, which I have an entirely separate video on. If you would like to view that, it is linked down in the description below. It is rumored that soon after this, Tupac begins to have similar ideas on leaving the label for his own interest. Suge then violates his probation, attacking Orlando Anderson, a rival Crip, and is sentenced to 9 years in prison. Later that same night, Tupac is shot and killed in the same vehicle as Suge, and later that year, Pac's former friend and rival, Biggie Smalls, dies the same way, shot and killed in a vehicle at a red light with his manager P. Diddy. Former Death Row artists have accused Suge of being involved in Tupac's death, one being Snoop Dogg as well as ex-detective Russell Poole. He claims that Suge had Pac killed before he could follow through with his plans of leaving Death Row, and then killed Biggie in order to divert attention away from the Tupac case. An LA Times reporter named Chuck Phillips wrote articles arguing against this theory with a counterclaim, yet his article was found to contain false FBI documents and he was let go from the Times. The counterclaim, however, is also a believable theory, stating that the shooter was the recent victim Orlando Anderson, simply getting revenge for the beating he suffered just a few hours earlier. It's also claimed that the Crips involved were offered $1 million by Bad Boy Records associates in order to kill Pac, as well as Suge, and that Suge hired Wardell Poochie Faust to kill Notorious B.I.G.
1998.
Snoop leaves Death Row, dissing Suge in his 2002 track, Pimp Slapped.
2001.
Suge is released from prison after serving only 5 of his 9 years.
2002.
Suge, Dre, and Snoop all end up at the Vibe Awards together, with Suge and Snoop almost brawling, if not for the one and only Steve Harvey being there to stop the altercation, as well as showing Harvey his talent at dealing with family feuds. During the ceremony, however, Dr. Dre is sucker punched and his attacker is quickly taken care of by Dre's Aftermath alumni, Young Buck, a G-Unit member and friend of 50 Cent. The attacker later claimed that the whole event was planned by Suge. Later that year, Suge is arrested for violating probation and moving to Malibu without notice, as well as consorting with known gang members. He remains behind bars for only 61 days.
2003.
Suge assaults a parking valet employee outside a nightclub in Los Angeles and serves 10 months in jail.
2005.
Suge is stopped for an illegal U-turn, resulting in police finding marijuana in his vehicle, and later that year he is shot at Kanye West's MTV VMA party in Miami. He then sues West, citing mental trauma, seeking compensation for medical costs. Keep in mind, Kanye West is the pink polo-wearing rapper making music about family and school at the time, where Suge Knight is a prison-hardened brutal gang member with multiple convictions under his belt.
2006.
Suge files for bankruptcy and claims debts of over $100 million.
2008.
Suge gets into a fight and is knocked out for over 3 minutes, refusing to cooperate with police after regaining consciousness. Later on that year, he is spotted punching a woman while holding a knife in the other hand and is arrested. He gets charged with felony assault with a deadly weapon, drug possession, and domestic violence, posting a $19,000 bail and returning to freedom.
2009.
Suge is punched twice by Akon's manager, Robert L. Karn Jr., receiving facial injuries.
2012.
Suge is arrested for the most heinous of his convictions yet, possession of marijuana while also driving with a suspended license. At this time, police find multiple outstanding warrants for previous violations and place him on 3 years probation. Unsupervised.
2014.
Suge Knight and the Death Row label are sued by Dr. Dre for $3 million in unpaid royalties for music he worked on while at the label. Later in the year, Suge attempts to attend another MTV VMA party after being shot at his first one in 2005. He is shot, once again, this time taking 6 bullets and requiring surgery, yet still refusing to cooperate with police. The year continues on and Suge is arrested in Las Vegas for second-degree robbery and again driving with a suspended license. Knight is then suspected along with comedian Cat Williams for a Beverly Hills burglary, which sounds like an early 2000s movie title, where they allegedly stole a camera and injured a paparazzi member.
2015.
Knight is arrested on suspicion of murder for an altercation leading to a hit and run, leaving 1 dead. This incident just so happened to be at a promotional shoot for the upcoming biopic Straight Outta Compton, of which Suge had threatened the director F. Gary Gray. For context, you can say the movie paints Suge in a bad light, or in other words, is historically accurate. He turns himself into the LAPD and is later hospitalized for a fatal blood clot emergency. And boy, the unavoidable irony of a blood gang member running a predominantly filled blood label developing a blood clot is almost an ideological inception. At his hearing on March 20th, Suge collapses after hearing his bail is set at $25 million, and Sugar Bear's baby bail is lowered to $10 million.
2016.
Suge fires his lawyer, the man who said "F*** kids," literally, and defended Michael Jackson with his child molestation cases, over suspicion of ill intent against him, and hires Stephen L. Schwartz.
2018.
Suge agrees to a 28-year sentence for the hit and run in 2015 and is currently serving at the Richard J. Donovan facility in San Diego County, California. He will be eligible for parole in 2037 at the age of 72. I'm going to go ahead and future-proof this video by leaving an RIP TBA for Suge Knight, which we will commemorate with a moment of gunfire and screams of terror. Thanks for viewing my video. If you learned something, you can like the video. If you want an encore, you can subscribe for more. And if you're interested in my social media updates, you can find me at Twitter in the description below. That's all for now. I'll see you next time, and to everyone who made it this far, have a good day, my friends. Friends.